Dear students, this is part 2 for back projection reconstruction for computer tomography, and we are gonna continue from where we left off. As we have observed that our sinogram generated images are somewhat blurred due to the oversampling of low frequency components in back projection process or sinogram generation process, and these oversampling of low frequency components uh, create a blurring effect, a smearing effect over the image. So to compensate this, we use filtered back projection instead of the usual back projection. To compensate this, one of the filters that is used is the Ramlock filter that you see here. You're seeing the frequency response of this filter right now. So the zero frequency is right in the middle. Sorry, and it is suppressed, as you can see. And apart from zero frequency, the filter enhances the higher frequencies. So to create this filter, we first make an empty vector, let's say 1 by n, where n is the width of the histogram. Okay, so the width of the histogram, the sinogram, sorry, is 145. In our case, we call it length of projections. Just we create an empty, let's say, a filter that equal to zeros and length of projections, and that is 1 by 145 double vector that we have here. And second, we create two ramps as shown in figure 3, the figure here, such that the peak value is 1 at the edges. To create this, we need to calculate the slope of these lines. And for example, for 145, the middle point is 73. If we want to calculate this line here, so we have 73 here, that is 0 at 73, and 1 at 0, or let's say 1. And we have at 145, we have 1 again. So we know 3 points. That is, let's say x1 is, let's say this is x1, this is x2, x2 is 73, 0, let's say x1, y1, x2, y2, so x3, y3 is 145, 1, okay? So we can calculate the slope of this. You know, the slope is calculated as y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. That is minus 1 divided by 72. And we can find the values of this line as y minus y2 is equal to m times x minus x2. that would be y2 is equal to 0, so the values can be calculated as minus 1 over 72 times x minus 73. So if you use MATLAB to calculate that, let's say our x is from 1 to 73, our y is equal to minus 1 over 72 times x minus 73. Okay. Okay. And if we plot x and y, the new figure, I don't know why we switched to caps. Let's check if we made it correctly. I accidentally touched that. Here it is. Okay, the plot should be small case. So here it is. As you can see, we have plotted out. So we can also calculate the same for the right hand side here. And that should be, oh, some interesting choice. I don't know how to, yeah. So here is exactly. Now for this part, we can calculate m as y3 minus y2 divided by x3 minus x2. So it will be 1 divided by 72. So the second form will be y minus y3 is equal to, let's say this is m2. So this is not x minus, let's say y minus y2 again to deal with the y value x minus x2, which is y is equal to 1 over 72 times x minus x2 is equal to 73. So let's check if this works. Now we are working from x2 is equal to 74 to 145. We can choose it 73, but we choose the first line to be 73, so we do not want any overlap, so we choose it this way. And y2 is equal to 1 over 72 times x2 minus 3. Okay, so if we plot x2, y2, let's check if we have done it correctly. So here is, yes, so we will gonna merge them inside the filter. So here, filter, the first 33 components, 1 to 33 will be equal to y, and the remaining components from 74 to 40 to 145 will be equal to y2. And let's plot this filter. Let's try to plot it directly. check if okay. So here, so this is our frequency response of our Ramlock filter. Okay, we are going to filter our sinogram or the resulting image with this filter. But as I said, this is a frequency response. So to filter that, now we want to apply this filter to process all of the given projections. And since we are working in the frequency domain, the filter is in the frequency domain. Instead of convolution, the filtering operation is now a multiplication in the frequency domain, which is much faster than a convolution for large filter sizes. So we need to add 3 lines to our code, that we need to take the FFT of our sinogram. So just we will add this, and we will multiply our sinogram with the Ramlock filter by multiplication, and then we will just take the real part and rewrite the sinogram. So let's go back to our MATLAB. Let's close this as well. Let's make it smaller so that our code is here. Now we were just directly taking the sinogram component here, but now instead we need to filter the sinogram. Now we can do it with many ways. We can add another 4, or we can do it without 4. Whatever we want, we can simply use. So let's see. Let's take the code in here. Paste it. So we take the EED component of the sinogram. We take its FFT, we shifted it, and we had the F projection. So now we need to multiply it with our Ramlock. So we have the F projection multiplied by filter. It's probably not going to work because it is the sizes may not match. So let's check it here. So we are taking the F projection. Let's say sinogram 1 here. Okay, so as you can see, this is a complex double, the F projection, and we want to multiply it with our filter. So here we need to use, as you can see, a dot multiplication, so that it should be element by element. So we need to put a dot here for the element-wise multiplication, and then we will have from our lab handout take back this component. So we just filtered. So let's write this is filtering. We just filtered with our sinogram, and we can use back projection again. So this would be a filtered back projection. Actually, these 2 lines can be merged now. We can simply say this is equal to projection, but let's do it later. So just remember, yeah, this was our first sinogram 1, and we had this image with the usual back projection algorithm. So now let's try the filtered back projection. And let's save it as another file. Let's say filtered EP. In MATLAB you need to have the function name equal to the one you entered here, otherwise it won't work. So let's go back our back projection process with our here. Now it will be filtered back projection, sinogram 1, and let's say this is image 1. Okay, let's check if it works, but it doesn't. Why? So not, oh yeah, so here is the thing, the filter, and the filter, we define the filter here. So we need to define the filter inside the function. The function cannot see the filter. So let's define the filter here. Okay, we'll just copy and paste these lines of code here. X is equal to this. Y is equal to this. Filter first components and the second components. So here we create our filter. Okay, now let's see if it works now. Yeah, now it works, and let's see if there's something changed in the resulting image. Image 1. So here it is. You can see the absolute difference in the contrast of the unfiltered version and the filtered version. Now let's make this parametric because this is particularly for the 145. It's fixed to 145. So I wonder if we have any other image left here to compare, but no. Maybe figure 2. No. Okay, let's close this. This can remain. Okay. So how do we parameterize this and see and make it work for everything? Okay. But first we can just also try sinogram 2 because it's also 145. Let's do it. So image 2 is filtered back projection with sinogram 2, and let's say image 2. So here is that image. If you check out the previous version, it was much more blurred in the previous version of this lab. So let's see, when we have 145 values, we need to find the middle, right? So it is the length of projections is equal to 145. So the middle point, so let's define a middle point. Middle point is equal to the length of projections divided by 2. Okay, and let's take the seal of it. Okay, so why do we need, let's see. So here, length of projections divided by 2 is actually 72.5. So if we seal it, we will round it to 73. Okay, so we take the middle point. If it was 144, then it will be 72, and this would not change the result. So we just define x from 1 to middle point. Okay, and we define y as, we should better first define the slope. Slope is equal to, let's say slope 1 is equal to what it is. If you remember the code, we said y2 0 minus 1 divided by middle point minus 1. Okay, so by calculating this slope, we can simply multiply the slope times x minus middle point, and we get the first line. Then we need to define the second line. X2 is equal to from middle point plus 1 up to length of projections, and we have the slope again, slope 2, and it is the length of projections minus middle point plus 1. This should be in the divider here, and this is, let's say, slope 2. Okay, and y2 is equal to slope 2 times length of projections minus middle point plus 1. So this is the parametric representations. If you compare the numbers with this, the one we did with our hands, and they should correspond to each other. But this time we don't need to write anything like this. We can simply comment it out. I hope this works. It's a pretty dirty work here we are doing. But let's define filter now, just like we have defined it here. So zeros, length of projections. Okay. And let's do this and that. And instead of 73, we have middle point. And instead of this, we have middle point plus 1 to length of projections. And then the back projection starts. So let's check if this works. Just like the way before, it is the same code, so it should give the same results. Okay, so okay, let's try with sinogram 1. Oh, so here we have slope. Oh, so we have written slope 1. So this should be slope 1. We have corrected it. Let's try it again. Okay, now it works. And let's check if we have image 1 calculated correctly. Here it is. Looks like the same, quite the same. Great. Now we can use all sinograms with this code, hopefully, if you didn't make any mistake. So let's try the other sinograms. Whereas the 5 was interesting, as you would remember, 5. Let's open the back projection code, our back projection code we have in here. So let's remove the filtering here. Okay, we just remove it. So it is not a filtered back projection. And we use both of them to obtain the result. So we have this sinogram 5. So image 5 filtered is the filtered back projection of sinogram 5. Okay, and we want to see the figure show image 5 filtered. Okay, so now I think we made a mistake, probably, so things doesn't look fine to me. Let's see. What what did went wrong? So let's see. Sinogram 5. This, let's try the unfiltered version first. Image 5. Back projection and sinogram 5. And let's see image 5. So this is the image. Doesn't look like very visible though. I'm trying to remember the Homer Simpson case. Let's try it. Okay, 6 this, and look at it this way. So here is the Homer Simpson. So here, an image that we can understand what is going on wrong in this process. Okay, let's put it here. So the sinogram 6, 367. So let's see what filtered back projection generates. Let's say image 6F. Okay, and let's see. Oh, it's working. So here. So it looks like quite nice actually compared to the one near that. The contrast is definitely higher. And I don't know why it didn't work in the other one. Maybe the normalization part. Let's ignore it for a second in both codes. not normalize it, just add up everything that we sent there. So let's see how it would work out that way. So the output argument image 6f not assigned during call. Oh yeah, so now when we make this change, we need to return image back, not the normalized image, but the image, because we do not have the normalized image anymore as the output variable. Okay, so we need to turn back the image. Okay, mistake. Let's repeat that again and check what's going on. Oh, it's almost the same. Check this without normalization. So it is the same. So the normalization code that we have written does not really do effects. But if we compare these two, this with this, figure 3, but there is a significant change in the contrast of the brain, as you would recognize. So this is how filtered back projection works. But I would expect, I really expect the same thing to happen to the food. The previous sinogram. So let's check what's going on here. We have done this, we have done this. Okay, so let's use this one again. We were seeing a food, as far as I remember, in the output. Now we cannot see that. Or was it at the 4? Yeah, it was at the 4. Okay. So I don't know what was in 5, but it should be, maybe it requires a more powerful thing. So it is 185, as you can see. So if our code works, it should also work at 185. So this is filtered back projection. If we execute our code filtered back projection and see what is going on, let's write down figure to obtain it in another figure. And here is the significant change between two images. So here it is. So there's an obvious increase in contrast. And if you change your filter to a more efficient one, or more frequency selective one, then it can provide even better results. But the basic principle is this: as you can see, you have a much better contrast in the bones inside this food, really significantly better bones. So this is how filtered back projection works, and let's have a look at our homework for this. Now it says write a MATLAB function, reconstruct sinogram file from your code in task 2 to apply the filtered reconstruction using this sinogram stored in the image as input data. So we have done it already, so this is not for you. Write the meaning of the important lines. This will be a good deal to improve your meaningful coding skills. And the output image of the function must be uint8 type, hence make necessary scaling convert data type. Okay, this was important. This is why probably we are not getting the better contrast. You can check that out. And I would say try some other filters. There are other possible filters for that to improve your coding skills. And so this is the you should all of course try the sinogram 10 and 11. What you need to do is simply to, for example, for 10 we just import it. So here is 10. It is 180 by 231. So let's use the usual back projection for sinogram 10, and let's have image 10 here. So here it's the tooth, as you can see. The contrast is poor. Oh, sorry, I forgot to close this. So we just use these two lines. We upload sinogram 10 and used these two lines just like before to obtain this. Now we are going to use the filtered back projection. Say F. Let's say filtered back projection. Let's say F. This is the contrast enhanced version. If you look near that, it's significantly better. It has significantly better contrast than the other one. So check the other histograms and repeat the same procedure to obtain better images. And the reason behind this need for filtering is available at projection slice theorem video proof.